Welcome to video number 2 in our mini-series about CTL's multi-dimensional assessment system around basic fact fluency. Today, we're going to focus on getting started and setting up for success. So, Victoria, what are the ways that a student's basic fact fluency would be assessed?
Sure. So there are at least two primary methods for assessing individual student progress in basic fact fluency. There's an interview that a teacher does with students, and then also during gameplay, while students are busy playing games in regular math classroom, we can also assess how students are doing with their fluency. One-on-one interviews are between the teacher and the student, and they're recommended at least 2 key times. One, as an initial or baseline assessment when a student enters a new grade, intervention session, or an extended school service, something during school, extra practice, or after school. And then as a final assessment when the student is preparing to exit. Conducting these interviews at entry and exit points helps teachers establish benchmarks for growth and evaluate each student's development over time. However, the assessment is designed to be given at any time deemed appropriate by the classroom teacher.
All right, so Victoria, say I'm a teacher getting ready to interview a student. So where do I begin?
Yeah, so when administering the interview, the teacher should find a quiet area away from distractions because you're going to be meeting one-on-one with your student. Teacher materials needed are a recording sheet, which is included in the guidebook, a pencil for you to write down what the student does or says, and then for the student, you might gather things like scratch paper, an extra pencil, counters, a number line. We want you to offer any available tools to the student so they can feel comfortable and willing, able to use anything they see makes sense or useful for them. So, and for it, you will also need the fact cards, which are included in the guidebook as well. So my personal recommendation is to have a camera or a video recorder available so that you can document student thinking and then also their strategy use and use that later to review and to recall, because it goes quite fast and knowing what they say or what they do or how long they take to solve a problem can be useful, and you may miss some of that when you're doing the initial interview.
Then you can go back and look at it.
Right. So for demonstration purposes, just here are some things that I might say to a student as I prepare to conduct an interview. I might say, I would like for you to show me which basic facts you have learned, and I'll tell you to hold the cards and tell me the answers, and I'm just going to write down things that you say as we go. You don't have to say the equation, just the answer, and then you're welcome to use the pencil and the paper and anything else that I have here for you as you work to figure out the problems. And that's all there is to it. We just say ready and we just start going, and the ones that we've done in the past, the children are quite comfortable and they're willing to share their thinking, and they kind of like the one-on-one attention.
Okay, so you mentioned that there were 2 primary methods for assessing student progress with basic fact fluency. One was the interview that you've gone over, and the other one was during gameplay. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Of course. So as you said, another opportunity for collecting student data is when students are playing the games that are included in the guidebook. And so usually you'll set up the day and have students understand, and here are the games I want you to play, and then they'll go off with their groups and their partner, and they'll begin playing. So my job at that point becomes to walk around, carry the observation checklist with me, and we've included those in the guidebook for you.
Okay, so let's discuss some of those commonly asked questions about the assessments.
Okay.
So first of all, how long should an interview last?
Sure, a one-on-one interview really should take no more than 10 minutes. If you begin an interview with a student and that student is really struggling to solve the basic facts, I would recommend that you pause the interview right away and wait until the student is more ready to talk about, demonstrate their readiness to continue the assessment. So there's no point in continuing to ask the student questions they don't have the answer to. So you can just pause and tell the student, hey, we'll come back to this another time. And I think that's a good way to go.
Yeah, we don't want them reaching that frustration level.
That's right.
So what should you be looking for during the interview?
Yeah, great question. So during an interview, you'll be making notes about their accuracy and their efficiency. Again, the efficiency is really, you can kind of silently count to yourself, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. That's usually enough time to know whether a student has mastered the fact or if they're approaching mastery. Take note of if and when they're using strategies, as I mentioned, the near doubles, using 10 as a benchmark, think addition, or any other strategy. But as I said before, you'll have to pause every now and then to ask student questions to discover how they're thinking and solving problems. So here are some good questions to get you started. When they answer a question, they've taken some time or they've drawn some of their work, sketched it out on the scratch paper. You might just say, how do you know, or how did you figure that out? I might even say, hey, what strategy did you use? And then I might even say, to try to get at their flexibility, can you try solving it in a different way? I know you did skip counting, but is there another way you can do it? And that is very revealing if the student is able to talk about a different way. They might figure out 8 times 4 or whatever. So yeah, that's a good way to get started.
Well, that's very helpful. Okay, so I know that we've been discussing some of those commonly asked questions about the interview, but here's one about the gameplay. So is it okay, and I think you hit on this earlier, but is it okay to interrupt students as they play?
Absolutely, sure. Asking students to share their thinking is the best way to accurately determine how they're solving basic facts. I usually begin each session with listening in very closely. The students will say something that causes me to wonder or makes me want to investigate further. And that's when I know, okay, this is a good place for me to pause and say, hey, I've got a question. And I'll just ask the students, tell me what you're doing, or say a little bit more about that. And I will also sometimes notice that students are recalling their basic facts accurately and quickly. That may be a sign that they're ready to move on to a different game, for example. Either way, spending a little bit more time in conversation with any student is always valuable.
Wonderful. So we will show you in the next video how a one-on-one interview might go.
Thanks.